Bitcoin.
It's going up forever, Laura.
Yo, welcome to another episode of Simply Bitcoin Live, your number one source for the peaceful Bitcoin revolution. We cover breaking news, culture, dramatic warfare. We will be your guide through the separation of money and state. And make no mistake, that's exactly what we're living through these days. We talk a lot about the concept of breaking the Bitcoin echo chamber, because what I think a lot of people have realized by now, but essentially Bitcoin content creators are making content for other Bitcoin content creators. And the way that you change that is by getting the mainstream broadcasters, the mainstream content creators talking about Bitcoin. Yesterday's episode we dedicated to Joe Rogan, and we read you guys a tweet by Jimmy Song, and Jimmy Song was making the case as to why Joe Rogan has avoided bringing on a Bitcoiner onto his show. Well, there's this clip of Max Keiser that I know Opti covered on a previous show. We're going to cover another portion today, and it's Max Keiser orange pilling Jimmy Dore. Jimmy Dore is another very popular broadcaster. He has 1.7 million subscribers on YouTube, and he's a progressive, so it's good. This is what we mean. Bitcoin is the great unifier. It brings everybody together despite their ideological leanings, right? And Max Keiser was making the case to Jimmy Dore, and I think everyone, include whether it's Joe Rogan, whether it's Jimmy Dore, anyone who's not benefiting from the fiat money spigot, anyone that's not part of the establishment, so to speak, they see what the problems are with money. They're woken up to the dangers of potentially introducing a CBDC into society. But again, you could talk about the dangers, you could talk about the problem, but unless you present a solution, you're not really making any progress. So shout out to Max Keiser for once again breaking the Bitcoin echo chamber. This guy's orange pilled Tucker Carlson. He's orange pilled. You can make the case as he orange pilled the president of a country. He's orange pilled. Now he's orange pilling Jimmy Dore. And I know he had a big play in orange pilling Tim Pool as well, right? And Tim Pool is also a very, very popular mainstream broadcaster. And there's been multiple occurrences where Tim Pool is referencing, the absolute disaster that is happening in the financial system. And he's like, I don't know what you guys are going to do, but I'm just going to buy Bitcoin. This is what we mean. And as Clown World continues to accelerate, as the money continues to break, all roads lead to Bitcoin. So shout out to Max for once again pushing the envelope. But this is what we mean about breaking the Bitcoin echo chamber. And I hope this trend continues. Anyways, no more delay. Let's bring up my legendary co-hosts. No smile today. So is it Nihilist Fields Day today?
No, I feel good. I feel great. I mean, look, I had this thought this morning, normie jobs, they have like a casual Friday. So I hear, it's a casual Friday today. We're having fun. It's going to be a great day. And honestly, I'm super excited for today's guest because we had the conversation before, and I think this is part of the conversation we always talk about. There's so many overlapping circles, different areas around the world, different people that are interested in different things, and all of them are soon to be Bitcoiners. And there's so much overlap between Bitcoin and every other area around the world. And it's part of this breaking the echo chamber. So let's bring in Philip from the Carnivore Bar. He was kind of Carnivore Bar pilling us earlier. And we were like, yo, okay, this is going to be fun. This is going to be fun. So, we're gonna dive into, as Saifedean always says, the fiat standard in regards to food. And I think you guys are going to really enjoy this one. But Philip, how you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on.
Let's go.
Thanks for joining us, man. I appreciate you joining us. And why don't you tell everybody, before we jump into the culture, why don't you tell everybody in a quick elevator pitch, what is the Carnivore Bar?
So I was a combat medic in Afghanistan. I got really sick eating MREs, crap food, and antibiotics, following the plan. And I was like, gosh, I really wish there was something nutritious, that was not going to make me sick. So I said, if I get back I'm going to fix this problem. So I did some research, found this Native American tradition called pemmican. This is rawhide leather. And they would pack this high fat meat product that was just sun-dried meat and rendered beef tallow mixed together. It was naturally shelf stable because it didn't have any moisture in it. And with that, they would break camp, and it didn't matter if their hunt was successful. At the first, they could survive off just pemmican for weeks at a time. And so I was like, oh my gosh, this is the perfect, meal ready to eat for soldiers. It's like, this is the food that I needed. And I was like, but you can't live off of it. So the carnivore movement happened. And then I found out you could live off of it. And there's a lot of carnivore Bitcoiners who are like pioneering. It's like, yeah, you don't need all this filler. You don't need all this roughage. You could just have concentrated value. And so I was like, oh, wow. So all these big ideas started to come together with my experiences and getting so terribly sick. And I was like, wow. So if we could make pemmican, this ancient food, modern and convenient, and bring it up to food safety standards, we could have concentrated value, everything you need to survive. You could carry it in your pocket and it would last for years and years. And so I created the carnivore bar.
That's awesome, dude. That is really, really freaking cool. Yeah, man. I can't wait to hear more about it during the culture segment and tell our listeners and our viewers as well. All right, guys, no more delay. Let's jump straight into the numbers. We got a lot to talk about today.
The Bitcoin numbers.
Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Is your seed phrase really secure? Stamp Seed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you need to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of just writing them on paper. Don't store your generational wealth on paper. Paper is prone to water damage, fire damage. You want to put your generational wealth on one of the strongest metals on planet Earth, titanium. Your words are actually stamped into this metal plate with this hammer and these letter stamps. And once your words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamped seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They're also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. All things that paper is not, allowing you to hodl your Bitcoin with peace of mind for the long haul. Stamp your seed on Stamp Seed. All right, guys, make sure to scan the QR code on your screen. You don't want to put yourself in a position where you have to explain to your grandchildren why you lost your generational wealth. Don't store your Bitcoin wallet backup seed words on paper. Store it on titanium. Scan the QR code on your screen right now. Take you directly to Stamp Seed website, and you can use promo code SIMPLY to get yourself a major discount. Anyways, at the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is $29,365. Sats per dollar, 3,405. Block height, 802,687. Blocks to halving, 37,313. Halving estimates April 21st, 2024. Total Lightning Network capacity, 4,711 Bitcoin. Capacity value, 138 million US dollars. Realized monetary inflation, 1.75%. Market capitalization, $571 billion. Bitcoin versus gold market cap, 4.42%. Anyways, moving on to this video by Jimmy Dore. It's Max Keiser on the Jimmy Dore show. Like I said, it's an extremely popular show. Opti covered it a couple weeks ago, but he covered a different part. I'm going to give you guys a different take. But take a look at the argument that Max Keiser is making. This is his argument that us Bitcoiners have heard a million times before. But remember, we have to break the Bitcoin echo chamber. We have to get the mainstream consciousness thinking of Bitcoin as the solution to their economic woes, which a lot of them are literally caused by broken money, by fiat money. Let's check it out.
So do you see a scenario where crypto replaces banks?
Well, first of all, we get into the habit of saying Bitcoin and not crypto, because when you say crypto, it kind of is a generic term for 20,000 what we call shitcoins, Bitcoin wannabes. There's only one Bitcoin, so we
Okay.
just say Bitcoin.
Bitcoin.
I mean, RFK, he's been orange-pilled. He says it's Bitcoin, Bitcoin only. So, I mean, cryptography is an element of the Bitcoin protocol, but it's not the defining element of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the totality of several technologies that came together to create this phenomenon, of which encryption is part of it. But it's a misnomer to refer to it simply as crypto, because then you have 20,000 scammers out there that come in. So, so the question is Bitcoin? Again, the question is.
The question is, will Bitcoin? Do you ever see a time when Bitcoin replaces banks?
Right. So the goal is for Bitcoin to become what we call it hyper Bitcoinization, or Bitcoin becomes a unit of account. So Bitcoin is the money. It's the global standard. And so everything is priced in Bitcoin, and you have Bitcoin and you transact in Bitcoin, and that's your medium of exchange. And the dollar is not used, and you don't need banks. Banks are no longer needed to perform clearing operations, because when you do a Bitcoin transaction, it clears itself. When you do a stock transaction, it takes 3 days to actually clear that transaction, to settle that transaction. Any kind of financial transaction requires time to settle, because they have to go back and match everything up to see if this is that, and you sold it, and where did it come from? With Bitcoin, the transaction is the settlement, because every 10 minutes, everything is completely audited. So all the necessary back-end machinery of that entire industry becomes redundant. You don't.
So yeah, again, in terms of the Overton window, we talk about this is a very radical concepts. Like, these aren't things that most people are used to. Like, most people have been living in the fiat matrix the majority of their lives. They're used to outsourcing the personal responsibility of the storage of their wealth to a third party, to a bank, right? And Bitcoin is all about taking that personal responsibility back, taking self-custody of your wealth, taking your energy, your time, all of that stuff back. That's what Bitcoin's about. But again, how long did you guys take to go down the rabbit hole initially, right? It's a long, drawn out process. It's not something that happens overnight, right? It happens in little incremental baby steps. So yeah, this is great. Hopefully in 5 or 10 years, Opti and I, will have to rename the name of the show from Simply Bitcoin to just Simply, because it will just Bitcoin will just be, totally normal in people's lives, right? So anyways, that's my take. Opti, I would love to get your take, and then Philip.
Yeah, definitely. To Max Keiser's point, Bitcoin is my bank. It's up 24/7, 365 days of the year. Like, I do not need to lend out my life savings to another man to control at his will. And it really hit me last weekend just how insane of an idea it is to give another person your entire life savings so that they can custody it, so that they can protect it for you in a bank. And it just blows my mind that this is the status quo. Like, my savings is under my control. And I think that this is going to bring back the ideas that, we grew up with. Like, I know for better or worse, I was always the guy that would put my dollars under my mattress. It just seemed safer until I realized, the magic power of interest and stuff. And now I think more people are going to kind of go back to their roots. It's like, put your Bitcoin under your mattress. Obviously, that's not financial advice, and there's better ways to do this. But the idea of secure your own money and not having to trust a middleman with your money, this should be the status quo. Obviously, should have, could have, would have don't really exist, but the average person still trusts a banker to not abuse that trust. And as we've seen in the last, couple of decades at this point, basically, that trust always gets abused. And while Max was talking, it really reminded me, and I've said this a couple of times, it really reminded me of the Hal Finney post where he said that there will still be Bitcoin banks, and if people so want them, they can use them. Some will be full reserve, some will be fractional reserve, and everyone will learn this lesson over time. But hey, if you're here and you listen to what we say all the time, then you're already ahead of the curve. Take Bitcoin into self-custody using the wallets that we mention all the time, a Blue Wallet on mobile, or Jade or Cold Card on a hardware signing device, or just simply download Bitcoin Core on your laptop. You can secure your funds today, and you don't need to outsource that trust anymore. You don't need a middleman anymore. You do not need to take this abuse. There's tools for this. It's called Bitcoin, and you can take back your money, opt out of the madness that is the fiat world, and opt into the permissionless, decentralized, I'm blanking on what the word is where they don't take your money, which, you know, you can inflate it, but you already know what I'm saying. Anyways, guys, I don't know why you trust someone with your money. It really blows my mind.
100%. Philip, what's your take on this?
Yeah, so I mean, to relate it to carnivore, it's kind of like having a wolf watch your sheep for you. You know, you're kind of dependent on the wolf's restraint, and like only going to take so many sheep per year. And we know that's not true. Like they can't self-regulate. They can't control themselves. It's any system that we put a perverse incentive in place, we're enabling our wealth to get eroded and stolen and abused and used for perverse purposes. You know, this is the kind of world that gets cheaper and cheaper, and we promote war and we promote things that we don't want to do and we don't want to see happen to our neighbors, our friends, and citizens of the planet. But they work because the underlying system is perverse. And so it's just insane. I think Max says it very well. Like, it just doesn't make very much sense to outsource that trust to a known party who's betrayed that trust.
100%. And it's so crazy. And why do you think people are still kind of stuck in the fiat matrix, so to speak? Like, it's so obvious for anyone who's taken the orange pill, anyone who's awake, but still some people are still kind of they're I don't know, it's like they're so busy hell-bent on blaming the political system and opposing political parties and all that stuff, from actually like waking up to the reality. Like it's not left versus right, it's orange versus green, it's Bitcoin versus fiat. Right, it's the party of slavery, central bank digital currencies, nihilism, poverty, which is fiat government money, versus the party of orange, which is the party of freedom, prosperity, Bitcoin. That's my hope, is that Bitcoin unifies these made up differences between people. And I really hope that happens. But I guess my question to you, Philip, is why do you think people are still so like they're still completely asleep to this? Like they don't see it, even though it's right in front of them.
Well, I think it comes back to like government. So, we have this divinely appointed king, and they ruled by fiat. They said, this is the way it's going to be. And we kind of understood this as a divine individual. And then as democracy and those ideas kind of propagated and, we wanted to give power to the people, and then we're only a republic, but, it's more representative. And so more voices are heard, as slavery goes away and women have rights too. And it's like, okay, cool. We're getting the umbrella bigger and bigger and bigger. We're being more and more inclusive, and more voices are getting their share at the table. Finally, we're trending towards this, let's hear from everybody. And as we go into that, each individual becomes the divine individual. But we have this problem where we're all equally vulnerable to the same like perversions that the same king had. So we can't trust ourselves, never mind, each other. And so what Bitcoin helps us do is to avoid that problem. It's an accountability ledger. The accountability is like the chief value in my mind. It keeps all the records straight. So there's no cheating. Because, when we have the opportunity to cheat, we all have temptation to give in to that. So we're all become the wolves in the situation. If you had access to other people's wealth, occasionally you would have a bad day. You would make the wrong call, and so we're accepting the wolves, the snakes in our own hearts, each and every one of us. And I think by admitting that and say, I don't got it. If the marshmallow was in front of me, I'd fail the marshmallow test. I'm just going to look away. Like I'm going to give that to a ledger, that accountability system, and stop believing in this make-believe fairy tale that we can have perfect judgment all of the time, because we can't.
Yeah, Philip, you said something that I try to touch on a lot, and I think it gets lost on people, is the idea of the average person not trusting themselves. And you can see this in almost every aspect of society, where just people have lost trust in themselves and don't lean into their own understanding, and then outsourcing that to other people. And that's one of the main reasons why we're in the position we're in right now.
Yeah, it can go too far, because if your self-doubt gets the better of you, and then you imagine that you are some kind of flawed creature with poor judgment, but you're going to lift someone else up to a narcissist, up to this, deific position, and like, oh, they're not going to have the same problems that little old me has. It's like, no, they probably have it worse. They're just better at lying. You have an advantage because you know that you're fallible. And it's like that lack of faith in yourself can definitely go too far when you imagine it. It doesn't apply to others.
100%. 100%. Love this. All right, ladies and gentlemen, no more delay. Let's jump straight into the news. We got a lot to talk about today. Let's check it out.
The Daily News.
All right, guys, I want to tell you about the largest Bitcoin conference on the face of the earth, Bitcoin 2024. It's going to be in Nashville, Tennessee this year, July 25th through the 27th. You don't want to miss the biggest Bitcoin celebration on the face of the planet, Bitcoin 2024. You want to get your tickets quickly before the prices go up. For a GA, it's $349. For an industry pass, it's $849. For a whale pass, it's $4,749. You can use the promo code SIMPLY to get yourself an even bigger discount. I also want to tell you about our other sponsor, the Orange Pill app. The Orange Pill app is building the social layer for Bitcoin. The Bitcoin circular economy is coming, and this is where it starts with in real life connections. There will be a time in the not too distant future where the most sought after demographic will be Bitcoiners, principled, devoted, patient, diverse, and loyal individuals who are the wealthiest single demographic. You want to stack friends who stack sats? You could do that by scanning the QR code on your screen right now. And when you sign up to the Orange Pill app, you get 10,000 sats for free. Anyways, guys, let's jump into today's news. Check this out. Banks hit with $549 million in fines for use of Signal WhatsApp to evade regulators' reach. The U.S. regulators on Tuesday announced a combined $549 million in penalties against Wells Fargo and a raft of smaller or non-U.S. firms that failed to maintain electronic records of employee communications. The SEC disclosed charges and $289 million in fines against 11 firms for, quote, widespread and long-standing failures in record keeping, while the Commodities Future Trading Commission also said it fined 4 banks a total of $260 million for failing to maintain records required by the agency. It was regulators' latest efforts to stamp out the pervasive use of secure messaging apps like Signal, Meta, WhatsApp, or Apple's iMessage by Wall Street employees and managers. Starting in the late 2021, the watchdog secured settlements with bigger players, including JP Morgan Chase, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, and Citigroup. Fines related to the issues totaled more than $2 billion. Quote, today's actions stem from our continuing sweep to ensure that regulated entities, including broker-dealers and investment advisors, comply with their record-keeping requirements, which are essential for us to monitor and enforce compliance with the federal securities laws. The firms admitted from at least 2019, employees use side channels like WhatsApp to discuss company businesses failing to preserve records, and quote, in violation of federal securities laws. So again, it's one of those things that on the surface, you're like, okay, Nico, like this is actually like, it's not that bad. It's for your well-being, for people's well-being. But I'll tell you this, guys, like supposedly WhatsApp has end-to-end encryption. iMessage supposedly has end-to-end encryption. Signal is like known for being the privacy app. So like technically what I'm seeing is that the government is stepping in and saying, hey, you can't use end-to-end communications unless we're able to see exactly what you're saying. Now, you could say like this is isolated. This only applies to, these regulated industries. It kind of makes sense. They're trying to, protect people's well-being. But again, I think that this is a continuation of the trends of attacking end-to-end encryption. They do not like that. We know in Europe, right, there are some countries that are trying to ban that outright, especially in the European Union, where they're basically saying if we can't see what your messages are going to be, then you can't have that. You can't have end-to-end encryption. How are we going to stop hate crimes? How are we going to stop terrorism? How are they, all the things that they bring up, all the justifications that they use. And I know what a lot of you guys are thinking. What the F does this have to do with Bitcoin? This is a Bitcoin show. Well, freedom of speech, right, is the first line of defense. If you think they're going to be okay with you transacting with anybody freely, and they're not going to be okay with you communicating with people freely, you got something coming. So we must protect the right for people to communicate freely. And this whole concept where, if it's a financial transaction, if it has anything to do with finance, if it has anything to do with money, privacy is not a right. That is absurd. That is completely absurd. So again, you look at this on its face. Okay, hey, this is for your well-being. These are the securities laws. These are to protect people. But at the same time, I am skeptical because this is the same SEC that this is the same government in the SEC that has denied the Bitcoin spot ETF. This is the same SEC that you could say has partaken in Operation Choke 0.0, which we now know is a move by the current administration to isolate the entire industry from the traditional financial system. So forgive me if I'm skeptical of their actions, if I'm a little bit paranoid when they're doing these types of things. Anyways, maybe that's my paranoid Bitcoin take. But again, I think it's the demonization of privacy. It's the demonization of this crazy concept where we can't live in a world where these bureaucratic elites get to pick and choose what communication is okay, what communication isn't okay. And look what happened with the Twitter files. Even in the US, out of all places where you're literally protected by the First Amendment, the government couldn't help themselves but to censor certain political speech. Right. So forgive me if I'm skeptical, if I just don't believe, they're doing this for the reasons that they're telling us. Yeah, man, I think we have to fight this at every color within the lines, of course. But we have to take a strong stance on this. Privacy is a human right. You can't have freedom without privacy. And it worries me that they continue to demonize end-to-end encryption. They continue to demonize people's ability to talk freely amongst each other without the government stepping in and saying, yes, this is approved speech. That is a very, very scary world. And then sprinkle in, their hopes and dreams of introducing a central bank digital currency into society. I just don't trust these people. That's my take. Anyways, Philip, am I crazy? Because I want to hear from you first, because I already know what I'm going to hear from Opti. Opti's going to be like, Nico, he's going to take it up 2 notches. Right. So I want to hear it from Philip. Philip, are we crazy? Are we paranoid Bitcoiners? Maybe we do this every day. Are we seeing something that's not there?
No, not at all. I mean, in fact, I'm literally thinking to myself, careful what I say, because, if you're crazy, I'm worse. Because, I make a food that's shelf stable, that is hopefully everything that you need to survive off of, because I have less faith than you're expressing. So I don't want to depend on the government or on any institution for anything. And for me, the most intimate relationship you can get is with your food. So if I make it big and this bar goes really well, I'm going to get land, I'm going to get cows, and that's what this symbol means. Feu. It's cattle, wealth. That is wealth in ancestral terms, is cows. So if you're thinking about, what you would buy with your Bitcoin, once the world is righted, it's going to be things that you need on a daily basis. It's food, shelter, and without all these manipulators, you're going to be able to express what you want. You're going to be able to dissent. Conversely, if the opposite happens, you're not going to be able to dissent. You're not going to be able to choose what you want to eat. You're not going to be able to choose where you live. All of these different mechanisms of your daily needs are means of control, and there's, as the rubber hits the road in the financial system, there's nothing more controlling than your money. As we saw in the Canadian protests, it just shut them off. It's like, okay, well, the fact that more people aren't freaked out by that, it's like, we just saw the playbook. You have opinions in a free country and you're shut down. So I'm pulling away from as much infrastructure dependence as I can. Like, I want to get solar on my plant. Like, I want to get battery banks. I want to get everything that I need. I want to find other sources of water. It's like every point of intersection with the government, as they go down this path, it's getting worse and worse and worse. Communication, finances, all of these tendrils of influence of, nanny state, they're going to watch over you in case you decide to become a terrorist, are also there in case you disagree with what makes them the most fiat money. And I don't think they can separate those two. With COVID, we saw the lack of ability to congregate. So we can't gather together and speak our mind. So we have this digital infrastructure, but now the SEC is going after end-to-end encryption. We can't gather online and talk. So it's like one avenue of another of dissent and having free speech or our own opinions or our own paths in life. That's being snipped, pruned. And so we have a narrow band to which to operate and to pursue our happiness and what we think we should be doing with our lives. So I think this is a very important civic conversation. As someone who served, now I'm kind of like, what was I a part of? I'm re-examining this. It's like I got completely derailed by following the plan. And now it's like, okay, time to think for myself and see how this system is really set up. And it's like, is it in my best interest? And it's very important that we speak up about this before our ability to speak up at all is curtailed.
Yeah. Oof. Perfectly said. Opti, what's your take on this?
Seriously. First and foremost, before I do my rant stuff that I know is coming, that headline, that fine just seemed like a slap on the wrist. I'm sure that I don't have the numbers here, the receipts here, but I'm sure that fine was just a small portion of the profits that these banks are making. And I mean, guys, isn't keeping records a bank's only job? What's going on here? But I mean, this kind of goes into what we've said in the numbers. If you have the chance to abuse people's trust, it will get abused. And we've talked about this constantly in regards to Bitcoin, how they'll use all these low-hanging excuses to basically continue to steal more rights and continue to infringe on your privacy. And we're seeing this happen more and more and more. And it really leans into the Hegelian dialectic, where they propose a problem, and obviously they already have a solution for it. And we know where the end game is they want to totally control not only your transactions, but all the information that comes to you, because they want to be able to surgically control behavior. And it's absolutely anti-human as far as I'm concerned. And it's absolutely terrifying, but it really leans into the average person, and it really terrifies me just how apathetic most people are, or just how much they don't care about privacy. And then further, the attacks on privacy that continue to come down from the bureaucratic class. It's just, it really is one of these things where they try to take a mile, but then they take an inch, and they just constantly do this so that the average person just gets psyoped into just completely giving up their liberties, their rights, their privacy. And we did a video the other day. Well, actually, it was Soph who did a video on our channel, and she went and went to the WorldCoin eye retina scan things. And there was a point in the video where she asked the guy, and this is just like a little microcosm of the behavior that I see from a lot of people. She asked him, like, aren't you worried about scanning your eyeball to this, orb and it connecting to all your financial transactions and every other behavior of yours? And he's like, no, like, cameras are already everywhere. Like, why should I care more? And it really goes into the social media world that we find ourselves in, where like everyone is exposing everything about themselves on the internet, and they don't seem to care about it. And yet they still have like curtains on their house. They're still wearing clothes when they go out. So they have some semblance of privacy that they do care about. But when it comes to your information or your transactions, they're like, oh no, like, what am I doing wrong? I have nothing to hide. And it's like, that is besides the point. This is how everything gets taken from you. And it's reminded me, I keep forgetting which one of the founding fathers said it, but it's like, if you give up your liberty for safety, you deserve none. And I feel like this is a relating matter right here. Like, if you give up your privacy because you're not doing anything, we're going to live in a world where you're just completely tagged and bagged. And we know what the World Economic Forum wants. They want a world where you know nothing and you're happy. Well, part of that is like not even owning your own thoughts. And it reminds me of 1984, Big Brother's watching, and we're here. And I think when Orwell wrote this, I think most people thought there'd be like one loud big bang and everyone's like, oh my God, this is terrifying. Big Brother's here watching everything we're doing. But as you can see, in the modern world, it's just slowly inching in, and people just seem to be completely unaware of it. It's like the frogs boiling in water, hot water right now. It's like just slowly but surely inching. And then before we know it, everything we do is going to be cataloged, going to be bagged. You're going to be easily deplatformed for things you say on the internet, and you're going to be completely cut off from society because of, your social media. And they frame this as a good thing. And it blows my mind. Like, guys, do not give up your privacy. End-to-end encryption isn't bad. Like, it's actually good for society. People actually want privacy. They just don't understand the framing and where this is leading to, because people, I don't know, are either apathetic or they're just asleep at the wheel right now. And if you aren't paying attention, we will end up in a dystopian hellhole. And that's not even being like hyperbolic. That we know that this is what's coming down the pipeline. And yet most people are just, so worried about the next celebrity gossip. They're on TikTok. They're just mindfully ingesting information. They're worried about Taylor Swift concerts or whatever the new thing is, the new current thing is. And it's like, be aware. Even the founding fathers, I know this is a global show at this point, but I think the founding fathers left us a lot of clues on how we should not only run a society, but run ourselves individually. And it's like, one of the things is always a remembrance that you need to stay vigilant, because these psychopaths will do anything they can to steal from you. And we see this happen more and more and more, and people are just becoming more and more desensitized to it. And it's just like, man, like, what is it going to take to wake people up? I don't know, but we're trying our best here at Simply Bitcoin. We're doing what we think we can to at least plant the seeds and accept these ideas that freedom is good. Don't let them penalize you or frame freedom as something that is bad. Freedom is inherently a good thing, in my opinion.
Absolutely, 100%. I agree with you, man. And look, like, because like I think a lot of people get maybe turned off or pushed away by, a lot of the, again, you can call it conspiracy theory stuff. When you hear the World Economic rhetoric and all that stuff. And I'm just going to boil it down to this. Like, the World Economic Forum, I don't see them twirling their mustaches and saying, we're going to conquer the world. It's just, we have a world of misaligned incentives, right? Fiat has fundamentally misaligned incentives. And what I see the World Economic Forum as is the conference of quintillionaires. That's really what it is, right? Of people that have they've benefited the most from the fiat system, and they're just following their own incentives, right? That's as simple as that. You have a world where the incentive structure is fundamentally corrupted. That base layer of society is fundamentally corrupted. And that's why you're getting this, what you can perceive as this evil, diabolical behavior, but it's not necessarily that. It's just like broken incentives, broken world. And I think I always point to El Salvador. I think El Salvador is the shining country on the hill, because I don't think it's a coincidence, and maybe it's too early to tell, that the first country that made Bitcoin legal tender, meaning their base layer is now fixed in a way, it's based on truth, it's a good base layer, is also happens to be one of the first countries in Latin America that, you know, has fixed their crime problems. The economy is recovering. I literally hear from El Salvadorians in the US wanting to leave the US, wanting to go back to their home country. You don't hear that. You know, once a Latin American makes it to Miami, right? That's like the, you know, that's the place to be, right? You don't hear them wanting to go back. And I think that's because you finally have a society where the incentives are aligned. So anyways, very interesting stuff, but I think we covered it quite thoroughly. I think it's time for the culture to talk about Philip and
let's lighten the mood and get hungry.
What he's working on these days. Let's check it out.
The Daily Culture.
Brought to you by SwanBitcoin.com. Swan is the best way to build your Bitcoin stack with automated Bitcoin savings plans and instant purchases, serving clients of any size from $10 to $10 million. We love Swan because they incentivize self-custody and dollar cost averaging. What are you waiting for? Visit SwanBitcoin.com today. All right, guys, I also want to tell you about the Pacific Bitcoin Festival. It's going to be the largest Bitcoin conference, Bitcoin celebration on the West Coast. You definitely don't want to miss it. It's October 5th through the 6th, Los Angeles, California. Speaker list includes Jimmy Song, Lynn Alden, Greg Foss, Alex Gladstein, Corey Clipson, Preston Pish, Stacey Herbert, Max Keiser, Stefan Livera, and many, many more to be announced. You definitely don't want to miss this Bitcoin celebration. You can use the promo code SIMPLY to get 21% off your tickets to the Pacific Bitcoin Festival. Anyways, Opti, what are we going to talk about today, bro? We're going to talk about the carnivore bar. Right. This is, I know a lot of Bitcoiners in the chat are about to go nuts right now. Definitely a lot of carnivore steak maxis in the chat. That's for sure.
Let's go. All right. Well, Philip, you did touch on this in the beginning, but just to rehash a little bit, what is the carnivore bar and how did you get here? Why is this your life mission now?
Well, so I was eating a bunch of preserved food, MREs, basically glorified plastic. And, you know, I watched all of the soldiers that I was serving with get weaker and weaker and weaker over the course of our deployment. And so I realized very quickly that, like, if you're on a base and you're eating at a DFAC, a dining facility, and you have these expert army cooks who are, you know, heroically making you food, you're good to go. But if you are out in the field, like if you're really dependent on a shelf-stable food, like something, you know, we don't really have anything as a civilization that's really going to cut it. You know, it's like cheesy poofs and Mountain Dew. You go into a bunker for 20 years, you're going to come out probably dead, if not with diabetic and cancer. It's like, you know, not health advice, but at the same time, I think, you know, we've really replaced actual food with a bunch of cheap crap. And I think that's just one of the symptoms, again, of a lot of what you guys talk about with the fiat world, fiat food. You're getting carbohydrates, you're getting Franken fats and preservatives that don't spoil on a shelf, and that makes your product highly marketable. But like they have like maybe 1 to 15 cents in the game that charge you $1. And so like they have this huge profit margin based on selling you something of no value. And then the rest is like, you know, 2 cents for marketing per wrapper. And that ends up being millions of dollars because so many people buy just nothing food with no nutrition whatsoever. And so as I'm trying to figure out what went wrong with my health and what went wrong with the health of all these other soldiers, it's like, it's crazy to me that, you know, I was treating kidney stones and I was treating, you know, all these nutritional deficiencies, like people shitting blood, not to get too graphic, but like it is what it is. It's like, why are 20-year-old kids having these kind of problems? And it's because this food isn't really edible. You know, it's food by spreadsheet. You know, this mineral exists in this food at this concentration and goes down a spreadsheet, but the RDAs are just made up. They're just completely fabricated. They're just guesswork. It's like, well, if you don't have some vitamin C, you get scurvy. So how much should you have? Well, let's just double or triple the number. And I'm sure that'll be good. And it's like, but if you actually try to eat the vitamins and nutrients that you need, like you end up, like, say, if you go for like carrots, you end up eating like 8,000 calories of carrots to get the recommended daily dose of vitamin A. And the conversion rate of that is so poor. It's like you're not actually getting that vitamin A. You're not getting retinol. You're getting beta carotene. And the conversion rate's like 7%. So it's like, how do you get nutrition? How do you make it shelf stable? And that's where I went and researched this Native American tradition. It's like, well, let's go from first principles. Like what we know about nutrition, it's not adequate. These minerals on this spreadsheet are not bioavailable. So let's just throw that away and say, what have people traditionally done ancestrally? What have been the nourishing foods that help people survive? And these carnivores have been doing this 10, 20 plus years, just eating meat. And they claim that that's adequate. And I was like, well, that is freaking fascinating. Like maybe if I make this pemmican, I can make this food without preservatives, use it the Native American tradition, and we can have like basically the perfect food that lasts almost forever, made it the highest possible, like highest quality ingredients that you can find anywhere on the earth. And, putting on my tinfoil hat and have it be American made and American sourced and, just all on the same continent, kind of getting away from this globalized, interconnected, interdependent, manipulated system, and try to create a stable supply chain that we actually have control of, that we actually know what's going in this product, so that we're not being hoodwinked, ordering a vat of something from China and getting goodness knows what. Just not having that transparency over what we put in our bodies just seems like a really bad idea for me. I wanted to know, and that does mean that it is more expensive, but it also means it's more valuable. So I would argue that paying with your health is probably one of the most expensive ways that you can feed yourself. It is fiat, it is manipulated, and it's a lie. And eventually you'll have to pay for that. Just like we as a society will have to pay for depending on other fiat items. They won't last. They won't stand the test of time. And eventually all lies, fall down, and then the truth will remain. And so I think with our biological organism here, like our infrastructure, we owe it to ourselves. The operating of consciousness is to feed that the fuel that it's been designed to use, and not try to cheat the system and get away with a bunch of baloney.
Yeah, bro.
Oof, love it.
Oof, man. You sound like a Bitcoiner, bro.
Well, I definitely sympathize with like almost all of the philosophy. Yeah. So
I love that. I love that, dude. I mean, it's so cool to hear your entrepreneurial journey. Like, you found something that was broken. You're like, look, like it started affecting my health. It started affecting the health of, because dude, like you served, right? So, you're out there with, with people that I'm sure you developed this brotherly like bond, right? And you saw their health deteriorating, ever so slowly, because of these MREs. And for anyone who doesn't know what an MRE, whoever doesn't know what an MRE is, so it's like a military prep meal, right? That you put water on it and then like heats. Could you kind of define what that is for anyone who doesn't know?
Yeah, sure. It is the industry's best attempt at everything you need. There's little gum in there. There's toilet paper, there's matches. It heats up things like vegetarian lasagna. And it's almost good the first time you eat it, but it doesn't make you feel good. And there's peanut butter and cheese, like a tube of like sealed cheese. You squeeze it out and put it on this like really hard cracker. And there's tacos, and they have like a shelf life of like 5 years, but they're supposed to kind of give you the sense of nostalgia, remember home, and so it's kind of this institutionalized idea of comfort food that has all these fortified minerals, but like zero thought has been given to the science, the actual bioavailability of these minerals, or the digestibility of the food in general. It's food by nostalgia and Excel spreadsheet. There's not really any science, and a lot of food science is like this, where there's very little attention to the organic chemistry. And that is, that's really important. Chemistry and physics are the basis of the entire world. And we have been manipulating that to make things cheaper and make things more shelf stable, but not to make them more nutritious, not to make them increase performance, not to increase value, but just that bottom line, that dollar amount. I went originally to get help with food scientists to help me make this food, and they said no. Like PhDs, food science, going to school many, many years. It's like, this is the functional food I want. I want it to have this attributes, and I don't want to add any crap. And they said, sorry, we can't help you. This food is too functional. And so basically what they do, what food scientists spend 100% of their time doing, is making, Doritos more orange. They make Mountain Dew a brighter shade of yellow. They take sugar and they find cheaper variants, cheaper and cheaper and cheaper and cheaper variants of sugar and fat and salt. It's like, actually, if we mix this salt with heavy metal, it pours better. That's a real thing. Like iodized salt has heavy metals in it because they are anti-caking agents, right? So we want the convenience of salt that just pours, right? And so then we just take this convenience for granted, and we're like, well, what cost? It's like, it's salt. It doesn't matter. You just don't think about it. It's like, but real salt clumps. Yeah, but that's inconvenient. Sometimes you get too much salt in your food, and sometimes you get not enough. Well, that's annoying. It's like, I'll fix it by just adding additives. It's like the pemmican that I make in the carnivore bar is completely the opposite hypothesis. It's like, let's add nothing. Beef and tallow are kind of like two parts of cow. So it's like cow and cow. And then we add some salt, and we'll even leave out the salt if you want. And the other ingredients that I've added, as customers have asked me, is raw honey for people who do sugar. And I've added a little bit of pluck seasoning that has like organs. It has even more nutrition in it, and it has a little bit of spices. But some people are allergic to those spices. So if you're going to like find shelf-stable food and you want to eat, like, say, a spiced sausage, right? How much of that spiced sausage can you eat in a day before you have a stomachache, right? Because you're thinking about eating one. What if you eat it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Like any kind of nutritional deficit or any kind of nutritional like irritant is going to build up if you eat that over and over and over again. So you got to think about it. If you're thinking about like a meal replacement as a soldier, as something you're going to eat day in, day out, it's like, I want something that I can eat until I'm full and have absolutely no detrimental effects. And so I have basically every version of the carnivore bar is a different hypothesis of what that is. So if people are allergic to spices, there's one without. If people have too much salt, there's one without salt. And there's people who want raw honey in it, and there are people who want zero carb. And it's like, well, there are different hypotheses of what is the perfect food. And we have a variant of the carnivore bar for each of those hypotheses. But, that's kind of the idea, is like, you don't want to be eating food that makes you weaker. Like food it's supposed to be this building up, nourishing. You're absorbing value from your hard work in the world. And you're putting that in your body, and you're trying to nourish your body. You're trying to strengthen your body. You're trying to, remove obstacles of enlightened thought, and consciousness, so that you can make the best choices for yourself and your family.
Beautiful, man. I absolutely love that. And you know, some of the best ideas, they're born out of necessity, right? They're born like that. That's how the idea is born, right? It's like it's born out of necessity. You saw a problem, came up with a solution. I love that. I can't wait to try one myself. You said the honey barbecue is the best one.
So that's what that's our most popular. It's amongst people who aren't strict carnivore. Yeah. So Pluck is an organ-based seasoning, and they do this blend of New Zealand grass-fed, grass-finished organs. So each organ has like a different mineral content. You know, like your liver has, you know, different zinc and copper ratios. Like muscle meat has more zinc. I think copper is in the liver, but like the pancreas or the heart has CoQ10, has different vitamins and minerals. So they just take an aggregate blend of these different really high quality premium organs, blend them together. So you're getting like a multivitamin in the spices. And so you can't taste any of the organs. This is a key step, because when I tried to add organs au natural, just plain, to my pemmican bar, I was like, no. So
That's awesome.
I mean, hardcore, I love science. I like playing around with things, but I'm not going to sell something that literally one person in the world is going to find palatable. So Pluck was an avenue for me to branch out to spices. Some of the carnivores that I serve are allergic to like garlic and onion, so they can't do those spices. So it was a big like, okay, I'm going to put dogma aside and try to reach out to the broader community. And so we have, you know, Pluck, which has even more animal nutrition in it. So the honey barbecue is raw honey. And so we take the raw honey, we mix it in with the tallow and the dried beef. And we create this very like crunchy, creamy, sweet. And we use Redmond real salt. And so it's pretty delicious. I don't typically eat honey myself. You know, I created the zero carb, high fat meat bar. But, you know, I'm open to meeting different versions of carnivore. And, you know, we want to expand. We want to get high quality nutrition into more hands. And if a little bit of raw honey helps that happen and make it more palatable, ultimately for future soldiers, that's my goal. I want to get this in the hands of people who are out and about in the world and, you know, putting their lives and their bodies on the line, so that they don't have compromised nutrition or have to choose between the lesser of evils of two processed fiat, you know, crappy food.
Yeah.
One last question, and something that blew our minds before the show, and then we'll get into the meme review.
Sure.
And I think you kind of touched on it. I was kind of, you know, relating with the story. Me and my cousin always say, like, stop eating holographic foods and eat more whole foods, more real foods. And I was mentioning that these bars have like 3 ingredients in it. Absolutely love it. And then you were talking about the shelf life, and you said something that blew our minds. We're like, so like, how long is the shelf life of this? And you said, Philip, tell the people, and then we'll roll on.
We don't really know, but we're hoping to prove 25 years. So without any moisture, there's no way for it to really spoil. It's sealed in basically Mylar. So no oxygen, no moisture goes in. And so there is hardly any moisture in the bar because we're using this tradition methodology. You know, this food was created in a time where there was no refrigeration. So it's already accounting for the fact that anything that has moisture in it is going to spoil. And, you know, people use spices, people use salt, people use all these hermectants to pull the moisture out. But if you do the work, if you take the week of work it takes to make this pemmican and do it the right way, there shouldn't be any moisture in it. And if you do it right, you can create a really, really shelf-stable bar that's also easy to digest. And for me, that was key to the mission I was trying to solve. Easy to digest, not going to spoil. It'll make the trip overseas. And for me, that was the answer that I was seeking.
That's awesome, dude. Very freaking cool. Anyways, guys, it is time for the meme review. But before we get there, guys, help us maintain our streak. Oh, I think we might break it, Opti. We're not at 100 likes at the top of the hour. Smash that like button. We have 60 seconds. Smash the like button. Help us break 100 likes in the first hour if you're enjoying the show. Anyways, guys, it is time for the meme review. Let's do it. Here we go.
The Daily Meme Review.
Brought to you by Kaboomracks. I get this question all the time. Nico, where should I buy Bitcoin miners? The answer is Kaboomracks. It's the best place to buy Bitcoin miners. That's where you're going to find the best deals and the best prices. Start your mining utopia today. To check out their racks, you got to go to t.me/Kaboomracks. Join their Telegram group and start your mining journey today. Kaboomracks.
Kaboom.
Hey, Nico, we got a question. Where can I find a miner?
Kaboomracks. Kaboomracks. Look, kaboom.
All right,
Let's pull it
guys.
up. Kaboomracks. Kaboomracks. There we go. That's where you can find a miner. Kaboomracks. Opti's face is going to be the Kaboomracks logo for the rest of the episode.
All right, guys, you already know the deal. This is the meme
We're
review.
too late.
where
Oh,
you
we just
this
broke
meme-
100. Thank you, guys. We appreciate it.
Let's go. Let's go. All right, guys. So you already know the deal. This is the meme review where you guys tag us in memes on Twitter at simplybitcointv or at Optimus Field, whichever one you want to. I will scour the internet and get the memes on the show. This is where we involve you guys. This is where we continue to battle the information war that we find ourselves in. Tweets are the bullets, memes are the artillery. And then, of course, you can drop them in our Telegram group, t.me/simplybitcoin. Let's get into, also drop your meme review score in the chat that way. I think it's that way. Wait, is it? Yeah, that way. And we will cover them live. All right, this first meme is by our boy Plan Marcus on Twitter, aka at Plan_Marcus. And he goes, better get to the Bitcoin side before you are stuck forever. Stop being a bear. Get off the, what do you call these? The iceberg, and get on solid land, which is Bitcoin. And you can see a polar bear jumping from the ice wall that is floating away to solid land, which is Bitcoin. Okay, this next one is by DeVito BTC, and he goes, they don't know that Bitcoin is the best solution to preserve their wealth. And we got this, hunky American here, a fat American on a sinking ship, and it's an American drinking a beer, and his thoughts in his head is like, it's almost football season, and his sinking boat is the purchasing power of the dollar. It's going down forever. This is why you want to save in Bitcoin. Okay, the next meme is by Beaver Bitcoin _ on Twitter, and it goes proof of work versus proof of stake. And we have a proof of work picture up here at the top, and it is a bunch of Chads and Leotas and Sailor pulling the Bitcoin mission forward, making number go up, making sure people are holding Bitcoin, making sure people are downloading Bitcoin wallets. And then proof of stake, we have Vitalik here on his shitcoin platform. And the mission is making your head of your shitcoin CEO richer. And it's all you NFTers and Wojaks that just want to enrich the founder of your quote unquote decentralized Bitcoin or decentralized shitcoin. Anyways, this next meme is by our boy Copernicus on Twitter, aka Copernicus's son 6. And everyone was laughing about the fact that I said I would buy a Bengal yesterday. And we got Copernicus and goes, at Simply Bitcoin TV, Bitcoin is the Bengal cat of all currencies. And he sees here, there's a cat here on the stairs, and it goes, where can I position myself to become the most dangerous obstacle in the house? And he put a Bitcoin logo on top of the cat. Guys, have these conversations, but don't be insufferable. Make sure no one gets hurt when you're trying to talk them into Bitcoin. Find ways to get them involved. Anyways, this next one is by Beautyon. And Beautyon gives us a lot of flack for the memes, but hey, he dropped a solid meme for us here. And this is the way, guys. This is what we try to tell you guys constantly, of opting out of the fiat madness and going all in on Bitcoin. Well, your finances are your finances. So pick the best route. But anyways, Beautyon goes, this is what needs to happen in Bitcoin. Everyone on earth escapes to Bitcoin and leaves the obese monsters, shivering geriatric cronies, criminals, and liars with their fraudulent paper money system. It's so simple, isn't it? And we got a picture here of ancient Rome, and it goes, in ancient Rome, working class citizens would abandon entire cities in an act of protest called secession of the plebeians, leaving the elites to rule over themselves. Opt out of the dollar, opt into Bitcoin, download a wallet. There's a lot of wallets. I name them all the time. It's probably been a minute since I named them, but recently I've been using Phoenix. I still love Blue Wallet, Sparrow, Bitcoin Core.
No.
our sponsors. There's all the good hardware wallets out there, guys. Protect yourself. Okay, this next one is Worship Bitcoin on Twitter, and he goes, black pill versus orange pill, hashtag Bitcoin. And we got a picture here of Luke Skywalker, and I forget what her name is in the new Star Wars movies, and he's defeated, and he goes, CBDCs are inevitable. And she hands him the lightsaber and goes, some things are worth fighting for, and the lightsaber is Bitcoin. Guys, do not just fall into the central bank digital control mechanisms that they're trying to roll out. Fight back, saving Bitcoin. And this last one, shout out to Rave Elevator. I'm not gonna put the audio here. I don't think it needs the audio, but Rave Elevator goes, endless fiat money printing, quantitative easing is theft. Next, Bitcoin, BTC, actively Bitcoin. And goes, how I orange pill normies. And we got like some Indian guru here, and he's just slapping people. This is how you guys all orange pill the normies out there. You guys just keep slapping them over the head with the facts. Hey, to each their own, but how you orange pill normies with the slap to the face. Okay. All right, guys. All right. Drop your meme review score in the chat over there, and we will cover yours lives. Okay. My meme review score is this BTC mag. If you know, you know. Boy, orangelabel.co. BTC mag. You already know. How did Yellow get from the chat to the live show? How does he do this?
Malaka.
Mr. Phillip.
Oh,
what is that? Could you describe what that is?
this is pemmican. This is a parfleche. This is its rawhide is naturally stored in.
Okay.
So what? That's how you dry the meat with tallow. You just put it in that thing?
Yeah, they would seal it with tallow to keep the oxygen out.
Okay.
This is what I had on my desk.
No, that's hey man, you live and breathe the business. I absolutely love that. All right, let's get through.
Everyone knows that I've become a tallow maxi, so a highly endorsed tallow.
Let's start with the first score by Yellow. Yellow's back in the chat. It's weird, man. He just kind of came on the show, then he's back in the chat. I give them for no. Can you do the accent? I give them for margarita. Victor Salazar, my favorite Greek puppet. Debased salt. Okay, I like it.
Yeah, they're shook. They're like, wait, they're debasing my salt as well? What's going on here?
Elevator. I score the memes. 1 tube of fluoride-free toothpaste. If you know, you know. McLovin, I voluntarily place myself in Bitcoin timeout for joking about an Opti meme coin. Okay.
Yeah. I am not associated with that shit coin named Opti.
Keys. Ultra mega special edition carnivore bar the size of my claves. The best claves in Bitcoin. Very nice. By Elaine, Bitcoin Bull Run has mainstream media with Bitcoin Maxi interviews 24/7. Coming soon. I love it. Next one by Phil C. I give the memes 1 halving on the way. Okay.
I'm getting trolled on this
by
one.
Opti Fields, yum. I I like the taste of spicy people. Score McDonald's burgers cooked tallow maxi. Absolutely love that.
That would be delicious.
All right, we got Apollo 21. I give the memes a Gatling gun firing carnivore bars from the ammo box at soda cans. Absolutely love that. All right, we did not run out of meme scores. We run out of time. We always just run out of time. But guys, if you enjoyed the show, you know what to do. Smash that like button. Consider subscribing. I'm Nico. My co-host Opti just took himself off screen. I want to thank our very, very special guest. Thank you so much, Philip from Carnivore Bar. Thank you so much for joining us on the show today. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much. It was great.
Thanks, man. Thanks for joining us. All right, guys. Well, have an awesome weekend. Enjoy it. We're going to be taking it easy today. That was the show. Rustin is going to be dropping some awesome clips over the weekend to keep you guys entertained. But the live show will be back on Monday, 12:15 p.m. Eastern Time. Honey Badger Media. Don't stop. Peace out, y'all.